10 minutes. When we left, Sarah had just died, and Hagar and Ishmael had been kicked out of camp, and Abraham had put his son on the wood. And here we go. Abraham kept getting older and richer. Abraham was concerned about a wife for Isaac. He didn't want him to marry one of the local girls. On the other hand, he didn't want him to go back to his family and never come back. But he did want him to marry one of the family girls. So he called his general manager of the entire enterprise, who he trusted greatly. And he had a meeting with him, and he explained his concerns and asked the manager to go back to his family and find a suitable bride for Isaac. The manager was concerned that he might not be able to accomplish it, and Abraham assured him that the God, who was the God of Abraham, would help him just as he always had helped Abraham. He'd always kept his promises. The manager had always been with Abraham and had seen this, so he promised Abraham he would try. The manager went off with his caravan, 10 camels, and many other fine gifts to look for Abraham's family, and he got to a city of Nahor, where Abraham's relatives were reported to live, and he stopped his camels near a well. He prayed to God and said, "God of my employer Abraham, please help me be successful today and keep showing how faithful you are to Abraham by helping me. I'm standing here by a well. Some of the girls are coming out for water. I'm going to ask one for a drink, and if she's the one for Isaac, let her say, 'Sure, I'll give you a drink, plus I'll get some water for your camels too.'" Before he was even finished praying, a beautiful young girl named Rebecca came by with her water pot. And he asked her for a drink, and she said, "Sure, I'll give you a drink, plus I'll get some water for your camels too." Needless to say, he was astonished, and he gave her a batch of jewelry that was significant and said, "Hey, I want some place to stay tonight. Maybe I can stay with your family. Who's your dad?" And she said, "My dad's Bethel," and he recognized that as a family name, and that was just fabulous. And so because he knew Isaac, Abraham wanted Isaac to marry in the family, and so he bowed low and he said, "God, the God of Abraham has blessed me, because he has led me right here to where Abraham's relatives are." So Rebekah ran home, and she told her older brother Laban about what had happened, and he looked at the jewelry and ran outside to meet Uncle Abraham's employee. And he said, "Don't stand out there. We've got the house all ready for you. Come on in." And so they took the camels, and Rebekah took the manager and brought him inside. And before they even started to eat, the manager said, "I just can't eat until I get this taken care of, and tell you why I've come. I am the general manager of your Uncle Abraham's estate. It's a big job because your Uncle Abraham is quite rich. He's got livestock, gold, all kinds of investments. I manage a great number of hired people that work for your Uncle Abraham. Now, Uncle Abraham is going to be giving his entire estate to his son, Isaac, and he wants Isaac to marry a family girl. So he sent me on this seemingly impossible task of coming here, finding y'all, and getting the right girl and bringing her home." Then he told them about his prayer and how Rebekah did exactly as he prayed, and how he then realized she was a relative. And he said, "I'm starting to feel like being on a mission from God is just a great thing, but I need to hear it from you. Will you make my trip successful by letting me take Rebekah back to marry Isaac?" Bethel and Laban looked at each other and said, "Sure seems like God's work to us. Why don't you stay here for 10 days and then you can go?" And the manager said, "No, I want to get this thing done. I want to get the Rebekah back." And so Bethel and Laban asked Rebekah, and she said, "Sure, I will. Let's go now." So when the manager and Rebekah and their caravan got into the land, Isaac was out in the hills meditating, and he saw Rebekah from way off, and Rebekah saw him, and there was an immediate chemistry between them, and they got married right away. It helped Isaac get over the loss of his mother. Isaac was 40 years old when he married. So Isaac is old, living with mom. I think the situation on the wood marked him and made him. He was the least prolific of the patriarchs. Another thing here. I've been to a whole bunch of marriage seminars given by the church, and I've always wondered, where do they find the good relationships in the Bible to build these seminars on? There aren't any. We've seen Abraham and Sarah. He sold her off a few times. We're going to see Rebecca and Isaac. We're going to see Joseph and Mary started off with a problem. There's not a good marriage in the Bible for us to point to. I don't know where they come up with the marriage seminar stuff. That's all I'm saying. So they got married, and Abraham got married again too, and to a girl named Keturah, and she had many children. And Abraham gave plenty of wealth to his new family while he was alive, and when he died, Isaac and Ishmael buried Abraham in the same cave where Sarah was buried. And Isaac stayed in Israel and inherited all of Abraham's wealth. And his second family, Abraham's second family with Keturah, they moved east. And Ishmael and Isaac were never close. And so Ishmael and his 12 sons, they moved east. Again, we're seeing the schism between Arabs and Israel. And also these other, remember that Lot's two daughters had Moab and Ammon, I think. And now we're going to have Esau and because Isaac and Rebekah are having trouble getting pregnant. And Isaac prayed about it regularly, and then Rebekah did become pregnant with twins. And she could tell it was twins because there seemed to be a constant struggle in her womb. And God told her, it's two great nations, and one will be greater than the other. And the older will serve the younger. And when she gave birth, the first child was a hairy red baby, and the second child came literally on the heels and actually had the heel of the first. And the first was named Esau, and the second Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when the boys were born. Now this is, when they struggled in the womb. Again, I'm picking on the church today, but they came. When the abortion thing, that was being discussed, we're not supposed to abort because God knows us in the womb. Well, we've already been through some verses earlier on where Hagar was out in the desert pregnant with Ishmael, and God said, oh yeah, he's going to be a great nation, and he'll be at war with his brothers. Well, his brothers weren't even in the womb yet. So God knows us before we're in the womb. And the fact of the matter is, as soon as we get in the womb, we're doomed to die. So when you die is a matter of 100 years. And in the course of eternity, that's what I'm saying is for you girls that have had abortions, God's got it under control. And those babies are safe. So Esau was an outdoorsman. He was hairy, he loved to hunt, and he didn't stay around camp much. Jacob, on the other hand, was a smooth-skinned, gentler person. He liked being in camp. Isaac preferred Esau because he enjoyed all the nice game he brought home. Rebekah was partial to Jacob. One day, Jacob was cooking some red stew when Esau came in from a long period in the field. Esau was starved, so he asked Jacob for some of the stew. Jacob said, "No problem, brother, but first, sell your rights as firstborn to me." Esau replied gruffly, "Heck, Jacob, if I don't eat, I'll die soon, and then what good is being born first to me? You can have my birthright, just give me some food." It was pretty clear. Esau didn't have much use for his birthright. That's where we'll end it for today. See you during the next 10 minutes.